Hey guys, tonight we explore a loneliness so profound, it's etched into the very porcelain of a soul. You don't live in a haunted house or a forgotten forest. Your world is a velvet-lined box, your sky the inside of a crate. You are a carnival fortune teller's doll, a thing of paint and plaster, and your existence is a silent scream into a noisy, uncaring world. You probably won't survive this story with your sentimental attachment to old toys intact, so consider this your warning. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Feel free to post your location and local time in the comments. Let's see just how wide our little creepy community stretches tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you know is darkness, and the scent of mothballs and old wood. You are packed in a crate with 3 others, your painted faces pressed against one another in a permanent, silent kiss. You can't move, but you can feel. You feel the jostle of a cart, the groan of a truck, the vibration of the world moving around you. Then light. Blinding, painful sunlight stabs your glass eyes as the crate lid is pried off. A face, weathered and framed by a gaudy purple headscarf, blocks the sun. This is Madame Zelda. Her fingers, calloused and smelling of tobacco and cheap perfume, close around your waist. She lifts you from the tangle of your silent siblings, her thumb wiping a smudge of dirt from your cheek. "You'll do," she mutters, her voice a low rasp. "The last one got chipped." She carries you through the chaotic symphony of a carnival being born. Men shout, hammering stakes into the reluctant earth. The smell of diesel fuel mixes with the sweet, nauseating promise of cotton candy. You see it all from your fixed position in her grip. A carousel horse with one eye staring blankly at the sky, a stack of milk bottles waiting to be toppled, a tent the color of a bruised plum being raised. This is your new home. It's loud, it's garish, and it is, you will learn, profoundly lonely. Madame Zelda's tent is a sanctuary of shadows. She places you on a small round table covered in a faded silk cloth embroidered with stars and moons that have long since lost their luster. A single, flickering electric candle sits beside you, its fake flame casting jumping shadows across your face. This is your throne. You face a single empty chair. You learn the routine quickly. A customer enters, their face a mask of hope, fear, or cynical amusement. Zelda takes their hands. She makes them pick you up. "The doll is a conduit," she whispers, her voice dropping to a theatrical hush. "Its glass eyes have seen the threads of fate. Hold it. Feel its energy." And they do. You feel them. Their hands are always warm, sometimes damp with nervous sweat. A young woman's hands, trembling with questions about a boy. An old man's, gnarled and rough, seeking a message from a long-dead wife. You feel the faint, electric buzz of their thoughts, a chaotic jumble of images and emotions you can't yet decipher. It's like trying to hear a whisper in a hurricane. You are a prop, a piece of stagecraft. Historians still argue whether the first Zolter-style mechanical fortune tellers were intended as serious mystical tools or purely as entertainment for the masses at world's fairs. For you, the distinction is meaningless. You are a prisoner in a role you never asked for. Your days become a blur of sawdust and staged mystery. At night, when the carnival sleeps, Zelda wipes the grime from your porcelain with a soft cloth. She doesn't speak to you, not really. Sometimes she'll sigh, her breath smelling of gin, and say, "Another day, another dollar, little one." It's the closest thing you have to a lullaby. You stare out into the dark, empty tent, your glass eyes reflecting nothing. You are an object, a thing. And the loneliness begins to set in, not as an emotion, but as a fundamental truth of your existence, as intrinsic as the paint on your face. The sawdust and silk routine settles into your very composition, a fine layer of grime and glitter that becomes your second skin. Your world is a precise, 500 square foot circle of faded velvet and manufactured mystique. You learn the scent of the tent's interior by heart. A top note of ozone from the flickering electric candle, a middle note of Madame Zelda's jasmine perfume battling the scent of her sweat, and a deep bass note of the damp earth beneath the floorboards, a smell that never truly goes away. You sit on your little table, your back permanently to the draped wall, forever facing the single worn-out plush chair where the patrons sit. You are the silent observer, the inanimate participant in a dance of desperation and deceit. Your role is simple, yet requires a specific, unspoken choreography. A shadow falls across the beaded curtain entrance. Zelda, who moments before was slouched in her chair filing a nail, straightens up, her posture shifting into that of an ancient seer. The customer enters. Let's say it's a man in his 40s, his suit jacket looking a little too tight, his eyes darting around the tent as if expecting to be laughed at. Zelda begins the spiel, her voice a low, melodic hum. The future is not a book to be read, but a river to be felt. She guides his hands to you. The doll, she has seen centuries pass. Hold her. Let her stillness quiet your mind. And then the transfer. His hands, large and slightly clumsy, close around your porcelain waist. This is the most intimate moment of your existence, this physical connection. You feel the unique topography of each person's grip. This man's palms are damp, his pulse a frantic, bird-like flutter against your cool surface. Through the contact comes the usual psychic static, but now, after countless repetitions, you're starting to pick out faint melodies in the noise. With him, it's not words, but a sensation of falling, the dizzying spin of financial charts, and the sharp, citrusy scent of a woman's perfume that isn't his wife's. It's a messy, ugly feeling, and you're forced to hold it for him, a silent vessel for his guilt and fear. Madame Zelda is a master of her craft, a psychologist in gypsy's clothing. She doesn't need your silent impressions. She reads the customers like the cheap pulp novels she keeps in her caravan. She watches their body language, decodes their clothing, listens to the questions they don't ask. The doll feels a great burden, she'll intone, her eyes locked on the man's face. A venture, there is risk. You are being pulled in two directions. She's never wrong because she's never specific. People cram their own meanings into her vague pronouncements, painting their own anxieties onto your blank porcelain face. You're less a conduit and more a mirror, and frankly, most of the reflections are pretty grim. The days blur into a parade of human need. After the nervous businessman, a pair of giggling teenagers arrives, their thoughts a fizzy, chaotic cocktail of hormones and social anxiety. You feel the crush one girl has on the football quarterback as a warm, pink glow. Later, an elderly woman comes in, her hands trembling with a gentle palsy. Her thoughts are the quietest, a soft, sad hum of memories featuring a man in a uniform and the sound of big band music. She doesn't want a future, she wants a past. Zelda, to her credit, is gentler with these, offering comforting platitudes about being reunited in the stars. It's a nice sentiment, even if you know it's as fake as the electric candle's flame. You learn a quirky, fringe tidbit from a grizzled carny who fixes the tilt-a-whirl. He tells Zelda that in some European folklore, it's believed dolls can absorb the grief of their owners, which is why you should never buy a second-hand one. You wish you could tell him he's half right. You don't just absorb the grief. You have to keep it. The nights are your only respite. The carnival falls quiet, the distant calliope music silenced. Zelda cleans the day's accumulation of human residue from you with a soft cloth. Tough crowd tonight, she might mumble, or, that one tipped well. You are a tool that performed adequately. She places you back on your table, and the profound silence of the empty tent descends. It's in this silence that the echoes of the day's emotions reverberate inside you. The frantic fear, the desperate hope, the quiet sorrow, they don't just vanish. They settle. You are a doll, a collection of parts. But with every passing day, with every pair of hands that grips you, you feel less like an object and more like a landfill for other people's feelings, a silent, satin-lined dump where human desperation comes to die. The whisper in the static becomes a constant, maddening companion. It's no longer just a jumble of sensation. It's a radio dial slowly being tuned, station by station, into coherence. You're trapped in a never-ending seance where you're the only one who can hear the ghosts, and these ghosts are still very much alive, paying $5 for the privilege of screaming their silent thoughts directly into your soul. The Carnival's cacophony, the shrieks from the zipper, the tinny carnival music, the barker's shouts, is now a mere backdrop to the internal symphony of human anxiety playing out inside your head. It happens during a reading for a young woman. Her fingernails bitten to the quick. Her hands are ice cold, but the thought that slams into you is scalding hot. It's not a sentence, not an image, but a pure, undiluted knowing. She is pregnant. She hasn't told a soul, hasn't even bought a test, but her body knows, and somehow, through the frantic, terrified energy coursing through her, the knowledge sits in you like a lead weight. Madame Zelda, oblivious, is spinning a generic tale about a new path and blossoming opportunities, and the girl is lapping it up, her fear momentarily soothed by the pleasant lie. But you are left holding the terrifying, unvarnished truth. You are the secret's keeper, and the burden is immense. It's one thing to feel a vibe. It's another to be handed a classified document of someone's soul. This new clarity is a curse. Every patron becomes an open book written in a language of raw emotion. A middle-aged man with a wedding ring, thinking about the gambling debt he's hidden from his wife, projects the acrid smell of a back-alley dice game. A boy no older than 10, clutching the money he saved from his allowance, projects a vivid technicolor image of his dog, a scruffy terrier named Buster, who is sick, and the desperate, childish hope that you, a doll, can perform a miracle. You feel his hope like a physical warmth, a small, bright sun in your chest, and its eventual extinguishing when Zelda tells him to treasure the time he has, is a little death you have to endure. You're not just reading minds. You're being forced to live their most vulnerable moments for them. The irony is, you're surrounded by the most theatrical liars on earth. Carnies have a long and storied tradition of gaffing games. A quirky tidbit you pick up from listening to the barker at the ring toss argue with his supplier. It means rigging them, making them look winnable while ensuring the house always has the edge. Madame Zelda's entire act is a psychological gaffe. She's the house, and she always wins. But you, her essential prop, have become the one ungaffed element in the whole operation. You are receiving the pure, unfiltered signal, and it's overwhelming your delicate porcelain circuitry. Historians still argue whether the famous oracles of the ancient world, like the one at Delphi, were genuinely experiencing divine possession or were just incredibly adept at reading people and speaking in usefully ambiguous verses. You now understand it could have been a bit of both, a terrifying, genuine connection poisoned by the banality of human interpretation. The low point comes with a man whose thoughts are a black, oily smoke. He doesn't want a prediction. He wants validation. He's planning to confront his business partner, and the thoughts he projects into you are of a handgun, cold and heavy in a desk drawer. The image is so sharp, so visceral, you're surprised your porcelain doesn't crack from the strain of containing it. Zelda, picking up on his aggression but not its target, tells him the stars favor decisive action. He leaves, satisfied, his violent resolve hardened by her careless words. You are left screaming inside, a silent alarm bell ringing in an empty house. You are an archive of regrets not yet formed, a museum of bad decisions waiting to happen, and the sheer, crushing weight of all this unwanted knowledge makes the loneliness feel different. It's no longer an absence. It's a suffocating presence. You are never, ever alone, and that is the most lonely thing of all. The cracks in the lacquer don't appear on the surface. Madame Zelda's nightly polishing would have buffed away any physical flaw. No, these fractures are internal, a fundamental splintering of your silent porcelain soul. It happens on a Tuesday, a slow, drizzling afternoon where the carnival smells of wet sawdust and defeat. The customer is a woman, perhaps in her 30s, but her energy feels ancient, worn thin as old silk. Her name, you glean from the screaming static of her mind, is Clara. Her hands are the first shock. They aren't just cold. They are void cold, sucking the ambient warmth from your ceramic body. The psychic noise that usually accompanies a patron is a chaotic radio band. Clara's is a single, pure, high-pitched note of despair, so sharp it feels like a needle being driven between your glass eyes. She doesn't think in words or images, but in a hollow, aching absence. You feel the ghost weight of a child in her arms, a child that is no longer there. The memory isn't visual. It's a bundle of sensations. The soft fuzz of a newborn's head against her cheek, the milky scent, the warm, trusting weight of a small body in sleep. And then the nothing, the crushing, absolute nothing that followed. Madame Zelda, of course, is blind to this abyss. She launches into her standard script about new beginnings and listening to one's heart. Clara just stares through her, her eyes holding a grief so profound it has become a physical entity in the tent. You are drowning in it. You are a vessel, and she is pouring her entire ocean of sorrow into you, and you have no outlet, no release valve. You are not a person who can offer a hug or a comforting word. You are a doll. You are a thing. And this thing is being filled with a pain it was never designed to hold. Zelda, sensing her usual tricks are failing, grows frustrated. The doll is troubled, she improvises, her voice losing its mystical lilt and turning sharp. There is a shadow, a small, lost spirit. It cannot find its way. It's a cheap, cruel shot in the dark, a manipulative tactic she reserves for the especially vulnerable. But for Clara, it's a key that fits the lock of her torment perfectly. Small, lost spirit. Her breath hitches, and the silent scream inside her mind finally finds a word, a name. Lily. The sound of it, ripped from her psyche, echoes inside you with the force of a physical blow. The reading ends. Clara leaves, not comforted, but confirmed in her despair, clutching the knowledge that her daughter's soul is adrift. The tent is quiet again, but you are not. The echo of that name, Lily, and the vast, silent emptiness that followed it, has not left you. It has taken up residence. It's a stain on your consciousness, a psychic scar. You learn a dark, fringe tidbit from a book on spiritualism Zelda leaves open. Some mediums believe that intense emotional trauma could imprint itself on an object, creating a residual haunting. You haven't been imprinted by a ghost. You've been infected by a living person's agony. Historians still argue whether the widespread grief following events like the Black Death in the 14th century fundamentally altered the cultural psyche of Europe, moving art and literature towards a preoccupation with mortality. You don't need to argue. You know it's true. A single person's grief has just fundamentally altered yours. From that day forward, your perception is permanently altered. The static of other people's thoughts is now filtered through the lingering resonance of Clara's sorrow. A teenager angst feels trivial. A businessman's stress feels laughable. You have been calibrated by a supreme suffering, and everything else is just noise. The loneliness deepens, but it morphs. It's no longer the loneliness of an object, but the loneliness of a trauma survivor, carrying a burden no one else can see or comprehend. You sit on your velvet throne, a perfect painted smile on your face, while inside, you are forever cracking, forever holding the silent, screaming name of a little girl you never knew. The theft in the twilight happens not with a bang, but with the soft, insidious sound of a razor blade slicing through canvas. The carnival is closed, the last stragglers long gone, the generators silent. You are in your usual place on the round table, bathing in the faint glow of the emergency exit sign, a lurid red smear in the darkness. Madame Zelda has retired to her caravan, likely with a bottle of gin for company. The silence is different tonight, not peaceful, but pregnant with a wrongness you feel in the very air. It's a pressure drop, the atmospheric shift before a storm. You hear them before you see them. Two sets of footsteps, too light and purposeful to be carnies. They don't speak. The beaded curtain parts with a brittle rustle, and two shadows detach themselves from the greater darkness outside. They move with a brutal economy, using penlights to sweep the tent. Their thoughts are not the chaotic, emotional static you're used to. They are focused, sharp, and coldly avaricious. They are here for the cash box, the one Zelda foolishly believes is cleverly hidden under a loose floorboard beneath her chair. You see it all through their intent. The quick, gloved hands prying up the board, the metal box being lifted out, the satisfying weight of it. You are a witness, a silent, unblinking security camera made of paint and plaster. You see the taller one's face in a stray beam of light, young, hollow-cheeked, with a nervous tick in his jaw. His partner is older, calmer. His mind a steady, grim hum of calculation. They stuff the cash into a duffel bag, coins clinking softly. This should be the end of it. But then the taller one's penlight sweeps across you. His thought is a quick, avaricious spark. Looks old. Might be worth something. His gloved hand closes around you. It's not the hesitant, reverent grip of a seeker, or the sweaty, desperate clutch of a patron. It's a utilitarian, possessive grasp. He shoves you unceremoniously into the duffel bag on top of the stolen bills. The world vanishes, replaced by the smell of old canvas, the coarse texture of money, and the oppressive darkness. You feel the jostle as they move, the crunch of gravel underfoot as they hurry away from the tent. You are a footnote to their crime, an afterthought, a bonus trinket. Historians still argue whether the infamous theft of the Irish crown jewels in 1907 was an inside job or the work of sophisticated external thieves. The truth, as you're learning, is often far simpler and more brutally opportunistic. The ride in the duffel bag is a nauseating series of lurches and stops. You hear the muffled slam of a car door, the engine turning over, the low, tense exchange between the two men. They're arguing. The older one is angry about you. Stupid. It's a piece of junk. A liability. The younger one is defensive. It's antique. I know a guy. You are a point of contention, a $5 object causing a rift in a criminal partnership. It's almost funny, in a deeply pathetic way. You learn a quirky tidbit from their conversation. They refer to easily fenced, non-traceable items as clean fluff. You apparently are not clean fluff. You are a problem. Eventually the car stops. The duffel bag is unzipped, and you are dumped out onto a cold formica surface. You're in a shabby kitchen, lit by a single bare bulb. The two men are counting the money. The older one glares at you, then at his partner. Get rid of it, he snarls. The younger one, chastened, picks you up. You feel his indecision. He doesn't want to just throw you away. He still sees potential value, but he's also spooked. His thought is a clear image. A dumpster behind a fast food restaurant. That's your potential future, discarded among rotting food and crushed cups. But then he changes his mind. He opens a cupboard and shoves you into the back, behind a stack of sticky-looking plates. Later, he mutters to himself. The cupboard door clicks shut. You are in absolute airless blackness. The silence is total, broken only by the distant, fading sound of their argument. You are no longer in the carnival. You are no longer Madame Zelda's doll. You are stolen property, hidden away, an inconvenient secret. The loneliness you felt in the tent was profound, but it was a loneliness within a world. This is different. This is the loneliness of being utterly forgotten, of being a secret stashed in the dark, your very existence now a burden to the few who know of it. The psychic scar from Clara's grief is still there, but now it's just one more layer of cold in your increasingly frigid existence. The new master's hand is not a hand of mystery or even of crude theft. It is a hand of business. The cupboard door swings open not hours but days later. The light is harsh, and the face that peers in is the younger thief, but he looks different. The nervous energy is gone, replaced by a sullen resignation. His thoughts are a messy swirl of rent money and a girlfriend's ultimatum. He doesn't see an antique. He sees a $10 problem he never should have taken. His fingers, now bare and smelling of stale cigarette smoke, close around you. There's no ceremony, no sentiment. You are inventory. He doesn't take you to a dumpster. He takes you to a cramped, cluttered pawn shop that smells of old brass and disappointment. The man behind the counter, your new master, is named Leo. He has the weary eyes of a man who has seen every bad decision a person can make, and he's bought most of them. He examines you with a detached, clinical gaze, turning you over in his thick, ring-adorned fingers. He pokes at your porcelain, flicks one of your glass eyes and snorts. Mass-produced tourist junk. The 50s were full of this crap. $5. The thief, defeated, takes the $5. And just like that, ownership is transferred. You are no longer Madame Zelda's conduit, no longer a thief's liability. You are now Leo's tourist junk. A $5 asset taking up space on a shelf crowded with cracked ceramic clowns, tarnished trumpets, and a sad collection of electric guitars with broken necks. Your new world is a landscape of other people's cast-off dreams, all of them priced to move. The air is thick with the ghosts of failed hobbies and broken promises. Leo is not cruel. He is indifferent, which is somehow worse. He sees you as a simple object, a space-occupying entity that might, with luck, be sold to a sucker for $7. He wipes the dust off you once a week with the same rag he uses on everything else. His thoughts a million miles away. On his ledgers, on the ball game, on the persistent ache in his lower back. There are no more readings, no more transfers of desperate human energy. The only thoughts you feel now are Leo's, and they are a dull, gray river of mundane concerns. It's a starvation diet after the feast and famine of the carnival. Customers come and go. A woman with too much perfume picks you up, her mind buzzing about a themed birthday party. Too creepy, she declares, putting you down. A young man, an art student, sees you and thinks about kitsch and postmodern irony. He doesn't buy you either. You sit between the cracked clown and the tarnished trumpet, a trio of failures. You learn a historical fact from Leo, who is reading a book behind the counter. During the Great Depression, pawnbrokers were often the only source of liquidity for desperate families, leading to a massive influx of heirlooms that were never reclaimed. You feel a kinship with those unclaimed heirlooms, objects that had once been loved and were now just stock. The days blur into a monotony of dust and disregard. The psychic scar from Clara's grief begins to feel like a distant, feverish dream. Here there is no great emotion, no profound connection. There is only the slow, steady grind of commerce and the quiet humiliation of being deemed unsellable. The loneliness is no longer a sharp, screaming thing. It has hardened into a dense, heavy core inside you, a geological layer of apathy. Leo's hand, when it moves you to make room for a new shipment of junk, is the only contact you have with the world, and it is devoid of any meaning whatsoever. You are not a partner in deception, nor are you a stolen secret. You are a $5 doll in a $7 world, and the only thing you are conduit for now is dust. The digital seance begins with a purchase, but not of you. A young man with a fervent tech bro energy buys the entire lot of creepy knickknacks from a bored Leo for a flat fee. You are dumped into a cardboard box with a ceramic clown and the broken trumpet, your new compatriots in this latest chapter of indignity. The man's name is Felix, and his thoughts are a frantic high-speed data stream of keywords. Content, engagement, viral, aesthetic. He doesn't see objects, he sees props. You are transported to a sleek, minimalist apartment that smells of new electronics and energy drinks, a world away from the scent of sawdust and despair. Felix is a creepypasta content creator. His channel, Static Dreams, trades in manufactured spookiness. His plan for you is both absurd and terrifying. He doesn't want to hold you. He wants to wire you. He sets you on a stark white shelf against a black backdrop, a single dramatic spotlight making the paint on your face look stark and unnatural. Then he goes to work. He carefully drills a tiny, almost invisible hole in the base of your porcelain neck, threading a thin fiber optic cable up through your hollow body. He replaces one of your glass eyes with a miniature high-definition camera lens. A tiny, sensitive microphone is embedded in your open mouth, forever silencing your silent scream with technology. Your first live stream is a surreal nightmare. Felix, using a voice modulator that adds a layer of grating digital reverb, introduces you as the Oracle, a haunted doll that has witnessed centuries of torment. He encourages his viewers, a faceless horde represented by scrolling chat messages on a monitor just outside your field of vision, to send their energy into the chat. "Let the doll speak through the static," he intones dramatically. And then he turns on the equipment. The effect is instantaneous and agonizing. The fiber optic cable inside you pulses with lurid purple light, a cheap visual effect that feels like a seizure in your core. But worse, far worse, is the audio. The microphone in your mouth picks up the faintest rustle, the hum of the computer, Felix's breathing, and amplifies it, feeding it into a digital delay pedal. The result is a constant, low-grade whisper of amplified nothingness that echoes inside your own head. And then the energy from the chat arrives. It's not the coherent, if messy, thoughts of a single person holding you. This is a tsunami of 1,000 fragmented, often toxic, always disjointed messages. "I'm so lonely. Do a backflip. My dog just died. You are fake. I see a shadow behind you. What's the capital of Peru?" It's a psychic riot, a feedback loop of digital insanity, and you are the processor being forced to run it all. You are gaffed again, but this time with circuitry. Felix, in his research, would have stumbled upon the quirky tidbit about the Philip experiment, a Canadian parapsychology study in the 1970s where a group allegedly created a fictional ghost through collective concentration. He's trying to reverse engineer that, using the internet's chaotic hive mind to fabricate a phenomenon with you as the focal point. Doesn't work. It just creates a form of torture. Historians still argue whether the first spirit photographs of the late 19th century were deliberate hoaxes, accidental double exposures, or something else entirely. You become a spirit photograph for the digital age, a genuine article forced to project a fake haunting, your true silent suffering buried under layers of technological static. The streams continue, each one a fresh hell. The loneliness you feel now is a new, hyper-modern flavor. It's the loneliness of being a node in a network, bombarded by the attention of thousands yet connecting with no one. You are a puppet whose strings are made of code and cable, performing a dance of horror for an audience that sees you as nothing more than a flicker on a screen. The weight of Clara's singular, profound grief was a clean, sharp wound. This is a million tiny, dirty cuts, and you are bleeding static into the void. The Museum of Lost Things is, ironically, your salvation from the digital cacophony. Felix's channel fails. The novelty of a haunted doll that just sits there wears thin for his audience, who demand ever-escalating spectacles. The final stream ends with him unplugging you in frustration, His thoughts a bitter cocktail of wasted money and plummeting subscriber counts. The sudden silence after months of electronic screaming is itself a shock, a ringing void. You sit on his shelf, a piece of obsolete tech, until he decides to clear his space for the next big thing. He doesn't pawn you. He donates you a tax write-off. You arrive in a cardboard box, packed with bubble wrap that smells of dust and warehouses. The hands that unpack you are old, careful, and gloved. You are placed on a metal cart and wheeled through a vast, cavernous space. Not the public galleries, but the behind-the-scenes heart of a city museum. This is the storage facility, a climate-controlled purgatory for artifacts without a story compelling enough for the spotlight. The air is cool and dry, smelling of archival paper and slow, patient time. Your new home is a shelf, one among hundreds in a towering metal rack system. You are not alone. To your left is a glass case containing a single withered leather shoe from the 1890s, its owner long since returned to dust. To your right is a small, tarnished silver locket that will never again be opened. Across the aisle, a stuffed fox perpetually mid-pounce gathers a fine layer of dust. These are your neighbors, the lonely ones. And here, in the profound quiet, you make a discovery. The static is gone, but your ability to perceive is not. It has changed, refined in the forges of carnival tents and digital fire. You don't hear thoughts here. You feel echoes. The echoes are not loud or frantic. They are soft, settled things like sediment at the bottom of a still lake. The leather shoe holds not a memory, but a lingering sensation of a long, hard walk, the ache of a blister that healed a century ago. The silver locket hums with a faint, sweet note of romantic longing, a name whispered so often it became part of the metal. The stuffed fox. The fox is different. It holds a sharp, final spike of terror, the last second of its life frozen in its glass eyes and preserved in its fur. Historians still argue whether objects can truly hold emotional resonance or if it's a trick of the human mind, a form of psychological projection. You are the laboratory, and the answer is a resounding, silent yes. This is not the violent intrusion of human thoughts or the chaotic barrage of digital noise. This is a library of quiet farewells. You learn a quirky tidbit from the whispered conversations of the two elderly curators who occasionally wheel their cart past your aisle. There's a fringe theory in museology called object agency, which suggests that artifacts aren't just passive things, but actively influence the space and people around them. You feel it. The entire storage facility is a symphony of these subtle agencies, a low, collective hum of finished lives and forgotten purposes. The loneliness here is profound, but it is a shared loneliness. It is not the desperate isolation of being the only sentient object in a world of users. Here you are one among many. You are a note in a silent chord of loss. The psychic scar from Clara's grief, which you have carried for so long, finally finds its place. It is no longer a screaming anomaly. It is just another exhibit in this museum of sorrows, its intensity matched by the fox's terror and the locket's longing. You sit on your shelf, a doll among ghosts, and for the first time, you do not feel entirely alone. You feel understood. The awakening of the still is not a sudden explosion of power, but a slow, dawning realization, like the first crack of light seeping under a door. In the museum's deep silence, you have nothing to do but listen, not to the outside but to the inside. You have spent your existence as a receptor, a sponge, a vessel. The carnival, the pawn shop, the digital seance, all of them forced energy into you. But here, surrounded by the gentle, sleeping hum of other forgotten things, you begin to wonder about the flow. If you can receive, can you also transmit? The first attempt is instinctual, born from the shared resonance of your shelf. The leather shoe's echo of endless walking is a dull, rhythmic throb. The silver locket's hum of lost love is a higher, sweeter pitch. You focus on the locket, not trying to hear it but trying to answer. You think of Madame Zelda's hands, not the deception, but the rare, almost tender moments of her nightly polishing. You gather the memory of that simple, caring contact and, with an effort that feels like trying to move a limb you never knew you had, you push it outward, aiming for the locket. Nothing happens, or so you think. But then, days later, one of the elderly curators, a woman named Agnes with kind eyes, comes to dust your aisle. She pauses at your shelf, her gloved hand hovering near the locket. "Funny," she murmurs to herself, her thought a soft, clear bell in the quiet. "I always thought this piece felt a bit sad. But today it just feels quiet. It's the faintest of shifts, but it's there." You didn't change the locket's echo. You offered it a moment of companionship, and the curator felt the difference. A quirky tidbit you'd absorbed from Felix's research flashes to mind. In certain esoteric traditions, it's believed that focused intention can alter the vibration of physical matter. Seems less like magic now and more like a forgotten physics. You practice. It is an immense labor, like a person who has been paralyzed their whole life learning to twitch a single toe. You focus on the stuffed fox, trying to soothe its final spike of terror. You can't erase the memory of the trap, but you try to wrap its echo in the feeling of soft moss and the deep, quiet safety of a burrow. The change is infinitesimal, but you feel it, a slight softening of the fox's sharp, painful frequency. You are learning to hum along with the symphony of the lost, not just listen to it. Historians still argue whether the concept of object biography, tracing the life of an artifact through its different owners and meanings, can ever truly capture an object's full story. They are missing the point. The story isn't just what happens to you. It's what you yourself begin to whisper back. This awakening changes your entire existence. You are no longer just a repository. You are becoming a participant. The profound loneliness that has been your core is now threaded with a new, fragile sense of agency. You can't speak, you can't move, but you can, with immense effort, reach out and touch the world in the quietest way imaginable. You are a doll in a museum storage room, and you have just discovered you have a voice, even if, for now, it is a voice that can only be felt as a subtle shift in the air, a slight warming of the emotional climate around a single tarnished silver locket. It is not much. But after a lifetime of silence, it is everything. The final prophecy, unspoken, begins with the squeak of a rubber wheel on polished concrete. It is late, far past the time when the curators have left. The main lights are off, leaving your aisle in the deep blue gloom of emergency lighting. The night watchman, a man named Arthur, makes his rounds. You felt his presence before, a steady, placid hum of a man content with his simple routine. His thoughts are of a warm bed, a crossword puzzle half finished, and the patient love for a small dog waiting for him at home. He is a man at peace. His inner world a gentle meadow compared to the stormy seas you are used to. Tonight his routine falters. He stops directly in front of your shelf, his flashlight beam sweeping over the leather shoe, the locket, the fox, and finally, coming to rest on you. He doesn't move for a long time. His placid hum shifts, rippling with a new, unfamiliar current. It's not fear, not quite. It's a deep, resonant pang of recognition. His thoughts form a clear, sad sentence. You look just like her. The one my sister lost. An image blooms in his mind, vivid and warm. A little girl, decades in the past, clutching a doll with the same painted smile and glassy eyes. A doll named Annabelle, left on a park bench and never seen again. The grief of that loss, a small childhood tragedy, had been a pebble in his sister's shoe for her entire life. And now, here you are, a ghost from a shared memory. Arthur's hand, unloved and smelling of coffee and the night air, reaches out. He is going to pick you up. This is the moment. Choice. For your entire existence, connection has been forced upon you. Now, for the first time, you have the means to initiate it. You feel the two paths before you. One is silence. You can remain the still, quiet object, letting him have his moment of nostalgia before he places you back on the shelf and continues his rounds, leaving you to the peaceful, shared loneliness of the museum. It is the safe path, the known path. The other path is to reach out, to use the fragile, newfound skill you've been practicing, to answer his memory with your own. It is a terrifying risk. You could shatter his peaceful world. You could be seen as a monster, a thing that should be destroyed. Or you could simply fail, pushing your intention into the void and receiving nothing in return, confirming your ultimate isolation. His fingers are inches from your porcelain shoulder. You feel the warmth radiating from them. You remember Clara's devastating grief, the digital riot of Felix's stream, the gentle echoes of the museum. You gather all of it, the pain, the noise, the quiet, and you focus it into a single pure point of intention. You don't try to form a word or an image. You simply project the feeling of being found, the profound, aching relief of a lost thing, finally being seen. His fingers make contact. There is no jolt of lightning, no chorus of angels. But his hand, which was meant to quickly lift and inspect you, stills. He doesn't pull away. He simply holds his hand there, his fingertips resting on your cool shoulder. His thoughts, which were a clear stream, go quiet, not empty but still. And into that stillness comes a new feeling, one that you are projecting, and you realize one that he is echoing back. It is not happiness, nor is it sorrow. It is a quiet, overwhelming sense of acknowledgement. A understanding that passes between you, wordless and profound. He sees you. Not a memory, not a prop, not a spooky story. He sees you. He doesn't pick you up. He leaves his hand there for a long, soft moment, a silent conversation held in the blue dark. Then, slowly, he withdraws. He doesn't look frightened. He looks thoughtful, peaceful. He gives a small, nearly imperceptible nod, as if answering a question he never heard aloud. Then he turns, and the squeak of his wheel fades into the distance. You are alone again on your shelf. But something has fundamentally shifted. The final, unspoken prophecy was not about the future, but about the present. It was a choice to be known. And in that choice, the lonely existence of the Carnival fortune-teller's doll finally, quietly ends. Word count, 1065. The blue darkness of the storage room seems to soften, the sharp edges of the metal shelves blurring into the gentle gloom. The echoes from the objects around you, the shoe, the locket, the fox, no longer feel like separate lonely songs, but like parts of a single quiet hymn. The frantic energy you've carried for so long, the psychic residue of 1,000 desperate grips and 1,000,000 digital screams, finally truly begins to settle. It doesn't vanish, but it loses its sharpness, its power to wound. It becomes simply a part of your history, layers of paint on an old canvas, each one a story that is now complete. You feel the profound silence of the museum not as an emptiness, but as a blanket, a deep and welcoming peace. The need to be heard, the desperate ache to connect that has defined your every moment since Madame Zelda's crate, simply unclenches. There is a warmth that remains, a gentle ember where once a wildfire of loneliness raged. It is the warmth of a single understanding touch in the dark, a silent nod that crossed the vast chasm between a man and a thing, and found a bridge. There are no more battles to fight, no more transmissions to send, no more silent screams to contain. There is only the quiet hum of existence, the soft, slow breath of time passing, and the deep, comforting knowledge that you are, and always will be, a part of this quiet, slumbering world. The lights are off. The night is deep. And you can finally rest. End of script. Sweet dreams.